Are you ready? Are you set? You've got all the presents wrapped. You got the ham in the oven. You got the turkey roasting. I'm not seeing a great deal of confidence in you. Perhaps you are, shall we say, enjoying the last-minute joys of the season. Some of you will be stopping by whatever store is open on the way home, perhaps, for that last-minute stocking stuffer, and that is okay. It is all right to not be all ready. It is, in fact, maybe even important. There are some things for which you can prepare. They occur on a relatively predictable timetable. You can be relatively assured that by the time your child is about 5, you will have a birthday party. And at that birthday party, someone absolutely will throw cake on the floor. There probably will be tears. And it will still be all right, and almost all of them grow up to be 6. There are, however, other things which can neither be predicted nor can they be anticipated with no matter how much preparation. No matter how prepared you think you are for the coming of a great surprise, a great joy like a birth, is it ever really exactly what you thought? And for those of us whose children are mostly four-footed and furry, even they bring their own personalities no matter how much training, no matter how much you have practiced with the treats and the jingling and the bells and the clickers. Still, the world surprises earth with heaven occasionally, countermanding all of our best hopes and finding something of grace in the midst of it despite our best efforts. I think one of the greatest and most important aspects of Christmas is not that we get everybody together, and it is not that we all eat a lot of food and that's all joyful. It is rather the great equalizer that Christ represents. There was at one point a parliament of world religions, and they were describing what each world tradition brought into the best of human hearts and thinking. Rather famously, C.S. Lewis is said to have stood when they were debating about what Christianity brought, because others have brought a belief in an afterlife, and other traditions have brought about compassion and hope for others. These are not to be dismissed. They are to be celebrated that they are universal. But he said the thing that brings Christians uniquely around in this story is how egalitarian the struggle and the graces are in the Christian tradition. Think about this. The child does not come born to a palace. The child does not come born to parents who are even married. The child does not come in a place that is sanitary or safe or in a hospital. This child comes in a parade of refugees. This child comes to a teenage mother. This child comes in the midst of incredible political turmoil and oppression. And still, the star bursts forth, and shepherds who did not know they were going to be called forth to become a sudden praise chorus for this newborn birth, bound up the hill to Bethlehem. Bethlehem is up the hill, y'all. It's up the hill. You have to go up to Bethlehem. They bound up the hill from the fields to Bethlehem to see this wonder. The prophet Isaiah once said in our reading that, this is the wonder and this is the sign that you will know. You will know that it is a miracle because a child will be born in your midst. Now, babies are born all the time. Does that mean that somehow God had forgotten to make something miraculous? Or had we forgotten how miraculous every child is supposed to be? Unprepared as they might be, not good at English or math or Spanish as they might become, untutored as they might be in world politics or world religions. Every one of you, every child of God, every single one of you is a walking miracle. And whether you saw it or not, there was probably a star for you too. C.S. Lewis said, the egalitarian nature of grace is the great leveler of humanity. It is that God self became an immigrant, migrant child. And that out of that salvation, not just for the rich, the wealthy, the powerful, and not just, my friends, not just for those who somehow had contact or had the good fortune to be born in a good land, would be offered God's love. It comes to the undeserving, it comes to the unstudied, it comes to the rich and the poor. It's an interesting silencer, isn't it, to the cacophony of voices that tell us how different we should be. How if you bought the right makeup, or had the right suit on, or drove the right car, or had the right present, wrapped in the right way, 3 weeks ago, under the beautiful tree that you already cut off your own land and dressed perfectly and it was perfectly shaped. But the only people who have that life are the people who made it up. And I'm not sure that that's the important part. For Christmas comes to those without a tree. And Christmas, the first one, of course, came to a family on the run. Maybe like yours. Maybe like somebody you know. Maybe like somebody you ought to know, or at least ought to care about. Because what's also true is how Christianity is the great leveler in purpose. Prince or pauper, king or a conundrum to your family, our purpose is still to care for one another as though each and every child mattered, as though each and every one of you held something of the divine spark and the holy work that is before us. Maybe that's why Franz Gruber and Joseph Mohr wrote Silent Night. In that little Austrian village 200 years ago tonight, a new carol was debuted. The priest, Joseph Mohr, had said to his choir master, "I want you to set these words to music." Now, there's a lot of stories about why. And my favorite is that mice had chewed through the bellows of the organ and they were not able to play. We got nothing on that. We got no record about that. Like 3 months beforehand, the only records they ever found was that 3 months before that, they found a note that somebody had come to tune the organ. But as for there being bellows chewed or mice or whatever, no. Maybe the better story is that Joseph and Franz chose something different because they wanted the people to hear the soul story in a new way. Maybe instead of the blasting and blaring of an organ, maybe it was time to silence all of those distracting voices, the ones that tell you that you're not good enough, or the ones that you aren't rich enough or powerful enough, the ones that tell you that somehow if you're not first, you're not nothing. Maybe this hymn, which was played by guitar in a candlelit church in Austria, was meant to just jar the thinking a little bit. To ask the question that this beautiful hymn that Allison Ruth just sang. Where is it now? Oh, it's got to be close. And we have to hold it close if we're going to keep it at all. Now, Christianity has made up a lot of stuff. Jesus had no tree. We stole that from the Norse. And the Advent wreath we similarly took from a clan in Germany. And Christmas lights were things that people did. We even stole the date from the Romans. We took a lot of traditions and we melded them all together. We didn't make any of it unique. But here's what both Silent Night and what I hope you are doing. They made it their own. And so we light a tree to remind us of how God's love is evergreen and never fades. And we put lights on it to remind us that even when we are in the deepest darkness, we can still see a glimmer. And if we are not in darkness, we can be a glimmer for those who are. And we light candles, and we celebrate in the midst of December as countless societies have celebrated in December as the year turns from old to new once more time, so that our hearts might once again turn from old and ancient to new and brighter days. If every child is holy, if every night had a little stillness in it to help us focus, maybe we would be a little closer to that holy light we sing for. Maybe we would all walk a little closer to the divine God we hope to meet again someday. Maybe Christianity would have a little better reputation than it has often had for all of our pious, nose in the air, holier than thou attitude. Jesus Christ, born in a manger, is the answer. Dirty and smelly are Christians of this world. Lowly and distraught and sometimes disorganized are the people who love God. And eager to help and willing to offer and hoping for better are all of those who follow the light. The wise still seek such a star. And grace comes to you and all of you in the stillness of the best of what is old and the best of what is new. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht. This stillness is nothing to do with the busyness of the world. And the holiness is not reserved for those who are holier than thou. It is the gift, it is the grace, it is the hope, and it is the help meant for us all. May the light come to you gently and bright, now and always. Amen.